So welcome to another edition of Left versus Right on 77 WABC and WABCRadio.com. I'm Anthony Weiner on the left, Dominic Carter on the right. For those of you who are watching at home, you see that Dominic still looks better than I do, but at least I wore a tie
You
today.
look good. You look good.
I appreciate it.
You look good.
I've got to say, because the feedback I've been getting is you guys are great. The show's getting better and better, but Weiner, why do you look like a schlub whenever you're doing it? And I said, the only reason I got a job in radio is so I didn't have to dress up, and so now it's coming back to bite me.
Hey, but you look good.
It's nice of you to say.
Like you're auditioning for GQ.
It's nice of you to say.
You look good, and you had a great show today.
It's nice of you to say that as well. So let's, sometimes we start these shows and, oh my goodness, so much happened this week. But really this week, just more of the same, just with the volume turned up. So
Democrats screwing up. And,
let's take a look.
And maybe you'll acknowledge this week that you've been dead wrong on the issues from Columbia.
Well, let's wait and see, because we kind of agreed a lot on Columbia last week, but now it's kind of hit like a fever pitch.
Okay.
Now the cops went in for a second time, which is something you suggested last week.
Right.
Now it's expanded all over the country. We're having these demonstrations. So let's start out this way. What do you think people are getting right about the demonstrations? What do you think they're getting wrong about the demonstrations? You say this Democrat-Republican response. It seems like most people pretty much agree that these kids can protest all they want, but they can't just take over a campus wherever they want. That seems to be bipartisan. Even Joe Biden stood up on Thursday and said you can't do that kind of thing.
Well, what's bipartisan is that you said that Speaker Mike Johnson going up to Columbia basically was a plain politics and a waste of time.
Right.
Well, some House Democrats have come out stating that all of this needs to end. And with all due respect, Mr. Weiner, if I were you guys, I wouldn't even mention President Biden right now, with all due respect. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 days to say something of substance. 10 days for the President of the United States. And you mocked me the last time. You said, oh, is he supposed to go to every campus?
No, you wanted him to go. That's ridiculous. It's still ridiculous if you still believe that. The President of the United States should go to every campus where there's a protest.
The President should have went to Columbia.
Hey, Dominic.
Given the fact, let me just finish. Sure. Given the fact, Ivy League institution, and what jumped off at Columbia has spread throughout the country, but it's taken the President of the United States. Mike Johnson, the Speaker, showed more leadership on this issue than the President of the United States of America.
Okay, standing outside.
And where was the President?
That's right. The President was being the President of the United States.
By 10 days
Dominic,
into this,
what do these kids want?
So wait,
they want attention, and you say give them more attention.
No,
it's good for talk radio, but when you're the President, you've got to be better than Dominic Carter and Anthony Weiner. You've got to rise above.
No, I say turn the fire hoses on.
I know what you say. I turn the fire hoses, put the guns on them, put the dogs on them. Fine.
Fine. I didn't say put the dogs on them. I said had the dogs
Dominic,
there. Dominic,
this is red meat for people who yell on radio. You must be loving it. I get it. But when you're the President of the United States, you've got to be bigger than Dominic Carter and bigger than Anthony Weiner. And what he said is what Americans agree with. There's a time for protest, but there's also a time to observe the rules. That's the Democratic posture. The Republican posture is what? Shoot them?
No. The Democratic posture, Mr. Weiner, is, okay, let me see. How can I not offend my Muslim American supporters in Minnesota and Wisconsin and other states? How do I not offend them? How do I do the right thing? I'm just not going to say anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 days before the President of the United States of America finally says that we are a country of laws.
Dominic, the best thing that could ever happen to these Yahoo protesters is attention. I have been saying for the longest time, everyone who stands outside the gates of these things and tries to manipulate or tries to take advantage of it is playing into the hands of these. 99.9% of Americans don't support what these kids are saying. But I want to tell you, every single time we shine a bright light on them, it does increase. Do you think most of these kids even knew what Hamas was? Now everyone is chanting about Hamas, 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 Hamas. All I'm saying is that the way you handle these things is sometimes you just ignore them. Yes, they can't stay on campus, but did you hear about the protests at Brown University? No, because the Brown University campus, they said, we're going to ignore these yahoos, not give them any attention. They withered on the vine and went away. But TV guys and radio guys in particular, Dominic, love having this kind of stuff to yell about because they get to say things like turn the fire hose on them as if we never heard of the civil rights movement.
Well, how about the protest at Fordham University? You're conveniently leaving that one out. The college did the right thing. They said, as I've said to you, and by the way, you mocked my idea last week when I said you could easily shut this down at Columbia by having 2 police booths put up and having police officers there. And that's exactly what Columbia is now doing. They have they've asked the NYPD to stay into at least May 17th.
Yeah.
So
I don't have a problem with the cops going.
The one at Fordham University, right? The college said you have 1 hour. 1 hour or suspensions, and you will be arrested. And how long did that last at Fordham University?
You think
Lincoln Center at Fordham.
We think you should stop protests after an hour on college campuses? So anyone who stands up, anyone who's, and it's all you Republicans are always, you're all talking about woke this and woke that when you chase people off campus who are saying things that the kids don't like. They're saying conservative things. You're like, defend their right to speak. We are the anti-cancel culture party. Well, now you're all into cancel culture.
Well, woke, it's what's destroying this country.
Right, so let's cancel. Right? Let's cancel them, but not our guys.
No. You don't cancel
Why
the
are
protesters.
you so afraid? Listen, I don't have a. This is where you and I disagree.
Go ahead.
You think that these protesters are the worst thing ever. Look, there's a bunch of idiots. There are a bunch of kids who I disagree with.
I didn't say they're the worst ever.
There's a bunch.
Most of them are professional agitators.
You're saying call out. Come on, people have been doing sit-ins since the day of the flood. What professional help does it look like they're getting? They're doing sit-ins, then they're taking over buildings just like kids have done on college campuses since the day of the flood. You think they got professional help with this?
No, I think that I ask of you, Mr. Weiner, how is it that the kids at Fordham University, they all had the same brand new nice tents within a matter of, what, seconds?
By the way,
how is that?
I looked at the aerial photograph at Columbia University, and there's all kinds of different
Fordham.
No, I'm saying the Columbia University. I haven't seen the Fordham one. Columbia University has all kinds of different tents. I joked with you last week, you and I should be in the tent business. But the idea that doing a sit-in with signs and chants and everything else is somehow, oh my God, they're so sophisticated. They're a bunch of yahoos. But I will say this, if you're going to be a yahoo, do it on a college campus like you and I did when we were in college, doing dumb things.
I didn't do it. I was too afraid of flunking out of school. It was more important
You're also probably afraid of something else, being a man with black skin in the 1970s and 80s going to college.
Fair enough. But it was more important for me to get my education. You're acting like this is just a group of protesters. That's not, or uneducated, whatever. That's not what's
growing.
happening.
It's growing in large part because, just this idea, when you want to stamp out an idea, the way to do it is not to shine a bright light on it and have Speaker Johnson outside talking about it, because then it just says to young, oh, we got their attention. These people who are outside, on the left and the right, are just agitators trying to take advantage of the situation.
By committing criminal activity, breaking their way into Hamilton Hall, janitors are stuck inside and can't get out.
I'm against that, but I will say something. It's not a novel thing. A sit-in have been sit-ins.
Breaking into an administrative building.
What did you think was
Columbia?
Columbia University in 2024, you think no one heard of Columbia University sit-ins before? Come on. It was so obvious that was going to happen next. That's exactly what happened in 1968, almost to the day. Okay. So I don't think it's great. I'm against it. I think Joe Biden once again got it perfectly.
He got it perfectly.
Yes.
10 days in.
He got it perfectly in saying, listen to his message.
We have to be honest.
You agree with his message 100%.
You and I have to be honest. His message is null and void because he waited 10 days.
Okay, humor me. Did you think his message was the right one?
No.
Okay. He said you have a right to protest, but you can't break the law. What does Dominic Carter say?
I say that would have been great on day one.
So you like the message?
No,
you just don't like the timing.
No, that is completely invalid on day 10.
No, because on day 10 is when the cops went in and everyone's been having... The national conversation has become...
Okay, look at what Trump did. Trump denounced it. Trump, as this police action was going on, was on live television.
He also called for the death penalty for the Central Park Five. Has he ever apologized for that? Don't you think he should?
He's not apologized for that.
Do you think he should?
Now, see, let me show you the difference between you and I. Yes, he should apologize.
So your guy's just a racist taking advantage of any situation.
No, that's not racism. That's what he believed. Oh,
there was no racial element to calling them animals and calling them wilding and all. There was there was a racial element to all of that.
No, there's not a racial element.
Anyway, you were telling me how great Donald Trump was when he wasn't slurring his words. What did he say?
Okay, look at what he did just the other night in Wisconsin at his campaign rally. By the way, rallies that he has to hold.
Wait a minute, I thought he stuck off the campaign trail.
Yeah, that's exactly the point I was about to make.
Wait a minute, how's that possible?
The point.
It's too bad he's going to miss his son's graduation.
Hey,
what a
but
shame.
You know what's amazing?
What a shame that is.
He's stuck off the campaign trail, but it seems like he's still having more campaign rallies than the president of the United States.
By the way, what do you think about...
Oh, I get it. The president is running the country.
What do you think about... By the way, it's really sad that Donald Trump can't go to his son's graduation. I'm sure you're going to amend all those podcasts you did and all those shows you did about that.
No, I'm not, because the judge was embarrassed into doing the right thing.
Oh, congratulations. In that case, he listens to your show. But let me ask, before we get off...
I don't want him to listen to my show.
Before we get off this, I want to ask you a couple of things about these protests.
Oh, wait, notice how you just jumped over Trump?
No,
you jumped over Trump.
Trump was going to be in our second block. Let's just leave it for that.
Okay.
So before we get off the protests, a couple of things I want to ask you about. One, how did the Columbia president do? She said called in the cops, and she did.
Next question. You already know she gets a failing F.
Tell me why.
Question. Are you serious?
She said exactly what you wanted her to say.
Where's the leadership? Her
she
leadership.
Called in the cops.
Her leadership is... At what point, Mr. Weiner?
Well, you don't call in the cops after an hour. You call in the cops after they refuse.
Mr.
You
Weiner,
give kids a chance to protest.
Mr. Weiner, her leadership has been so bad, you have people questioning whether she's of the same mindset of the students.
Wait a minute.
And that's why she's not taking action.
She went before Congress, was asked all those questions at Harvard and Penn was asked, and Republicans said, finally, someone who answered the questions right. You can't be anti-Semitic on campus. You can't say death to Israel. You can't do all those things. She started all these. Then she had this protest, and she said, all right, I'm going to call in the cops. The cops came in and cleared them out, and then they all came back. She says, listen, I'm going to give you guys a chance. I'm going to give you guys a chance. Chance is up. Right. I'm going to call in the police. What more do you want her to do?
Not embarrass yourself by issuing a statement that says ultimatum. You have a 2 p.m. ultimatum. Ultimatum.
That's a negotiation.
Ultimatum. Excuse me.
By the way, if you
ultimatum. Nothing's happening.
If you're a hostage
President.
Negotiator, that's the way you'd function too. You'd give people a chance to leave. Let me ask you one other guy.
She's not a hostage negotiator.
Let me ask you another guy. Eric Adams. Sounds like your kind of guy this week.
In terms of what? What are you asking me
specifically? He said and did exactly what you would want him to do. He sent in his cops.
Well, you know, politically, this is a win-win for the mayor in terms of he looks strong in terms of law enforcement. I give him a decent grade on this.
Okay, the president, the Democrat. I mean, the congressman, the president said what you want him to say. Just
no, the president. The president. I give an F to.
You gave
I'm sorry.
You gave him a late.
I give him an F. The best you're going to get is an incomplete.
All right, let me ask you another group. How did the protesters do?
That's a question. Don't even ask me.
It seems like the protests are spreading all around the country. There's more and more of them every day. Isn't that the sign of a movement that's working?
No, it's a sign of going back.
If the Anthony Weiner strategy was followed and you just ignore them, they'd go away.
No. If it's a sign of going back to the George Floyd case in Minneapolis, where the protests from the Black Lives Matter protests, all of that stuff, the country has been hurt tremendously since Minneapolis. And so you have an underbelly that believes that they can rise up and just cause tension.
Like in Charlottesville, you mean?
I wouldn't say that.
Okay,
but
I didn't think you would. Okay. Let me ask you one other group of people. What about the outside agitators like at UCLA?
Zero. A zero.
No, hold on. The guys that went in and beat the crap out of the protesters at UCLA, I figured you'd like those people.
Those you like. You mean the ones that...
Yeah, the ones that came in and you like that.
They get an A,
yes. Because you like vigilantism.
No, I don't like vigilantism.
Well, that wasn't the cops. That was a group of people that came in with sticks.
Somebody's got to... listen,
that's vigilantism. You're pro-vigilantism?
I'm not saying that it's right. And it's not a good thing in terms of what happened out at UCLA, where the parties are fighting each other.
Right, and it made it made the protesters look good.
No, it didn't.
Because it was lawlessness.
No, it didn't make nothing makes the protesters look good.
I don't know,
Except for Mr. Weiner. You honestly are going to tell me you think the protesters look good?
So here's how I measure these types of things.
Go ahead.
If they're spreading around the country, then that's a sign that they got something going on. That's a sign.
That's a sign that it's well organized and somebody's paying for it.
Okay, I was going to get to that. This idea of outside agitators. We touched on it a little bit. What makes you think that there's no way on earth that someone could take this position that these kids have? Peace in Vietnam. Pull us out of Vietnam. Peace now. Why do you assume that just because we disagree with them and they might be wrong, why do you assume that a bunch of college kids would not be rallying for peace?
There's nothing wrong with college kids rallying for peace. In fact, it's the American way.
Right.
It's part of our history. But when all the kids have the same modern day tents, and then so you're pointing out their protesting.
I mean, the tents.
Okay, wait a minute.
That's your best case.
But wait a minute.
They cost $30.
But wait a minute. They're whining because they say they need food. The kids at
I'm with you,
Columbia,
man.
the doctor talking about, I spent the Washington Heights doctor. I spent 5.5 hours in a holding cell
Dominic
in my
Carter,
diabetic condition.
Dominic
Who cares,
Carter,
doctor?
Dominic
Deal
Carter,
with it.
You think they're wrong. I think they're wrong. I think they're disingenuous. You think they're disingenuous. That's fine. But we're talking about whether they're being successful. And I have to tell you something. They're being pretty successful, and these things are spreading around the country. And if you and I were sitting here wearing suits and ties on WABC in 1968, we would probably say they're being disloyal to our troops for saying get out of Vietnam.
I don't know about that.
I don't know either. I'm just saying hypothetically.
But
I can tell you that if a sign of a success of a movement, there is more and more discontent with what's going on vis-a-vis Israel's relationship with the United States in the public polls, and I've seen in a long time. That's a real problem. It's a real problem.
Okay, but wait a minute. Now you
can wrap us up on this.
You had me give letter grades. Let's hear Mr. Weiner's letter grades.
Well, we're about to go to a break. I think the Columbia president gets a B. I think that she got A's when she...
A B minus 2 letters?
Hold on. If you're going to let me do my grades, I got to bang them out.
Go ahead.
Columbia president, she appeared before Congress, didn't make the mistakes that Penn did, didn't make the mistakes that Yale did, said all the right things, so much so that Republicans were saying, finally, we have someone doing the right thing.
No, I don't see Republicans saying that about the president of Columbia. But
they did at the hearing before this started.
Okay, go ahead.
Then she has a situation where she's got to balance these competing interests. She has people who want more speech on campus. You're running a college campus in a liberal city. You're going to want to have speech on campus. She did the right thing calling in the cops. Pitch perfect statement on Thursday. Pitch perfect.
Come on, man. Be serious.
Pitch perfect. Law and order is
a letter grade. I said a letter grade.
I give him an A. If you and I were going to sit down,
man.
You said the same thing he said.
If we're going to have any credibility doing this
let's
show.
pick it up when we come back.
Okay.
Because we're up against the break.
Honest.
Anthony Weiner on the left being honest. Dominic Carter on the right saying Anthony Weiner's not honest, and we'll be right back. So welcome back to Left versus Right. Anthony Weiner on the left, Dominic Carter on the right. If you miss any part of this live, you can always get it as a podcast. And for those of you who like to watch rather than listen to your podcasts, we are now on YouTube. People seem to be liking that. I got dressed up. Now, you might have thought I was ducking by going into that break. So let me just continue with my grades. I think the Columbia president did an okay job in that it's a difficult job being a college president because your entire purpose of being on campus is to let people express different points of view. And I generally don't like the cancel culture.
No, that's not true.
Hold on, let me just finish. Let me say something you might agree with. I don't like the idea that on liberal campuses, if a conservative comes and speak, they boo him off campus and vice versa.
We agree on that.
I think that kind of idea is what go on in campus.
Right. Okay.
So when it comes to having a protest or a sit-in, I think there's a good line of thought that says, listen, just go do your thing. If you're not getting in anyone's way, but clearly they were. They were getting in the way of graduation, so I think she did an okay idea.
In the way of Jewish students that were terrorized and feared walking around.
I know, but like we talked about last week, there are a lot of people sitting in those tents that were not being anyone who's out there being aggressive, being confrontational, shouting in someone's face, being anti-Semitic, that's a different group. Those people have to go. I get that. They have to go if they're standing outside our studio. They have to go if they're sitting outside of Congress. That's a different group. A lot of those protesters and a lot of the ones on campuses around the country are sitting in because they believe something about Israel and Gaza and Hamas that I don't agree with. But that's not a reason to shut them down. Okay, the reason to shut them down is, as my president said, your president too said, if you start...
He's definitely my president too.
They start,
but I notice you're talking about the college president. You're not talking about Biden.
No, I'm doing Biden right, and now I'm doing Biden.
And you're going to you had a sip of water in the break or of your hot tea. You're going to consistently stand by the fact that you and La La Land gave him an
Here I
A.
go. Just like Joe Biden says, where do you draw the line? You draw the line, free speech can't be lawlessness, can't be law breaking.
10 days in.
Can't be those things because that's what the issue. You can protest the idea that he waited till after there was a conflict between cops to make those statements, but that's what the conversation in the country is now.
But I'm asking your opinion.
I'm telling you my opinion.
Okay.
You can critique and say, well, he should have done it before the cops.
No. I'm asking you directly. Should he have done something sooner?
Well, I don't think he should have done anything that got in the way of local law enforcement trying to solve this problem. I don't think the president should agitate a situation.
Trump in Wisconsin.
He's an agitator.
Trump is an agitator?
Yeah, he is responsible for nothing. He has no job.
Oh.
He can go, him, Sid, you, me, we're blowhards. We can talk. Donald Trump's a blowhard. He can talk. When you're the president of the United States, you've got to be careful because a lot of people are listening to what you say.
Well,
no one cares what Donald Trump says.
You just referred to half the country greatly cares about what Mr. Trump has to say. You just referred to Mr. Trump as a quote unquote blowhard.
Yeah,
he is the leading candidate in the race. Don't
and a blowhard. He has no. What does he have responsibility for right now?
Wait,
he has nothing.
Wait.
Me, and Donald Trump have something in common. We're not responsible for anything except just saying stuff.
Okay. Well, even the president of the United States. Well, there's so many points, so many ways.
Get to all of them. We got time.
Okay, so let's go to the correspondents' dinner, right? The White House correspondents' dinner.
And wasn't even going to run about. All right, let's go.
So normally presidents self-deprecating and so on. But even President Biden knows his weak points. Oh, by the way, in terms of when he said anything to get the New York Times to say that I have energy,
right.
I'll do.
That's funny.
Right?
That was a funny line.
He knows what time it is.
Hey, Ronald Reagan knew what time it was too. Joking about your age is a way to diffuse it. I use my appearance. I joke about my appearance to diffuse anyone saying that I'm not attractive. It's a common thing that politicians do.
Okay. So, the common thing that I've always seen politicians do is wear rocked over shoes and run over shoes that are not so it looks like you're a man of the people.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think this is all good or bad for Biden, all these protests?
I think all of this is bad. I think his tenure in the White House is done.
I know. You said that.
So wait a minute. What about that CNN poll that said?
I don't want to talk about. But let's do this. Let's stay on the protest for one more second.
Wait.
All right, go ahead. CNN poll.
Please. So this is Dominic doing Anthony Weiner. I agree with you. Biden has not done a good job of getting his message out.
Correct.
That's what you're going to say.
Right. Well, I'm going to talk about the protest. Why I think the protest helped Joe Biden.
Which is absolute nonsense.
I think the protest helped Joe Biden. Let's talk about that.
67%, a CNN poll. Not exactly Trump country, a CNN poll that says 67% of Americans do not approve of the job Biden is doing. So how do you get around that, Mr. Weiner?
There's a lot of discontent in the country right now, generally about the direction people go, the places people are going. I get that.
And why is that? You just called Trump the blowhard.
I think by the way, Trump's negatives are in the 50s, high 60s also.
We're not talking about negatives right now. We're talking about the fact
the direction
that
of the country.
67% of Americans, of registered voters surveyed, said the country is not going in the right direction.
Because I think half the country are unhappy about Biden's direction, half the country are unhappy about Trump's. That's a lot of people.
And that's reflected in Biden's
By the way, direction
numbers.
of the country doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to vote against Joe Biden. They could give him credit for trying to make it better. That's not a good. But let's get back to the protest on one final thing, because I have an interest. Thank you.
You might as well start dancing because you can spin some moves.
Thank you.
You can.
You ain't seen nothing yet. Wait till I'm going to do this next subject.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think these protests are good for Joe Biden. All right. You ready? You sitting down, Dominic?
I'm ready.
What are these protesters? These
team, we really got to cut that segment from Fred Sanford. Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you. This is the big one.
All right.
Because Anthony Weiner just said that these protests are good for Biden.
What do these protesters say about Joe Biden? They say he's Genocide Joe. They say he's helping out Israel too much.
Right.
I think centrist voters see that and they're like, that's what I want. I want someone being pro-Israel. Those people are attacking. Those people are saying Genocide Joe, and even Dominic Carter knows that's not true.
And what's the other side saying about Biden as it relates to Israel?
That's the point.
No. What's the other side saying?
Well, the other side we're not hearing from right now. It's these protesters. I'm making the point that these protesters are helping Biden.
The other side is stating that Biden is constantly on the phone with Netanyahu, trying to tie Netanyahu's hands where Israel cannot defend itself.
Got it.
And so
but all the protesters that are
first year journalism student, political science student could tell you that the White House is doing this not to offend Arab American
Wait a minute, hold on a second.
In America.
I'm talking about the protesters.
Okay,
there are lots of things that are good and bad for Biden, but I'm saying these protests every day on TV, they're holding up things like Genocide Joe. We don't support the United States. We support Hamas. And Joe Biden seems like who they're protesting against.
If you ask them, hear me out.
Hear me out, because you disagree with them, don't you, about Joe Biden?
No.
He's not Genocide Joe, is he? There's no genocide going on.
No. First of all, these protesters, all they are confirming is that since the case in Minneapolis, right, African American, killed, the hands of the police, whatever the case may be. And it's my contention that those officers, they did their job. But
I don't see a lot of black protests. I see a lot of brown protests. I see a lot of white kids. I see a lot of brown kids.
It's the sentiment that came out of that case in Minneapolis that is prevalent today and protests today.
Yeah, oppression and whatnot.
In which
taking on power,
in which
truth
the
to power, that kind of stuff.
Is, but let me tell you the reality.
But hold on, wait a minute. I made a really interesting point, and you're going back to Black Lives Matter.
I want to respond to your point because essentially you're breakdancing, you're spinning, so you're trying anything to help Biden.
You disagree with the protesters, don't you?
So let
when they say genocide, Joe?
Let me tell you what's real. How the protesters are really seen. They're really seen as anti-American. They're really seen as a bunch of privileged kids with nothing to do. They're seen as agitators.
Correct.
And all of those reasons.
And anti-Biden. You keep saying he's going to lose because of them.
No. He is. That was my next point.
They're anti-Biden.
It does not benefit Biden at all.
They're anti-Biden.
Why do you think he's finally speaking out 10 days in?
Listen, you refuse to answer the following question. They call him genocide, Joe. You know that's wrong. You know there's no genocide. Right? We both know there's no genocide. We believe that Joe Biden, it's wrong to call him genocide, Joe, because there is no genocide. So moderate voters out there in the world, not partisans, the moderates out there are going to decide this election. See these kids fighting against Joe Biden. They're like, no, I'm on Joe's side.
No, that's not what they see. What they see is that an administration, the same way Reagan did in '66, running for governor of California, the same way that he put those protesters in their place, that's what they're seeing what should be done by Mayor Adams and by President Biden. And at least Adams is smart enough politically to say, I can go up in the polling by sending in the cops with a strong presence.
Look, on Thursday when Joe Biden made his statement, he said, I'm on the side of law and order in this thing.
But, okay, what part are you not understanding?
I know, you think it should have been earlier.
10 days.
I know,
can you respond to that, please, Mr. Weiner?
I guess, and I have, and I'll try to do it again.
Okay.
Is that he did not want to, in the middle of all these negotiations and all these college campuses and all these cities trying to figure this out, he did not want to delegate, didn't want to do more harm than good. So now there's been...
So he didn't want to do leadership. That's what you're telling me. But Trump goes at his campaign rally and the other night.
If you want to look at...
praises the NYPD, greatly denounces the president of Colombia.
If you want to look at what a presidential behavior is not like, look at Donald Trump.
Well,
if you want to see what it's not like, that's the way you do. If you just
reflect that,
yes, I get.
Notice with your trial, with your kangaroo trial of Trump.
Yes.
Notice his poll numbers are going up.
So it's good for him, right?
It's unfair. The trial is not good for him because it's unfair.
Make up your mind. Is it bad for him or good for him?
No, he's turning lemonade from lemons. That's what he's doing.
Did you see how many pro-Trump protesters showed up today? On Thursday, rather? One showed up for him.
And why is that relevant?
Well, you always talk about the big rallies and the big audience, and he's beloved by everyone he meets. And don't worry, I heard a bumper during my show of you saying, "Oh, look out, Donald Trump's going to Harlem, and they love him in Harlem." He has no support around this stuff. That's why he lost 20% in Pennsylvania to Nikki Haley. Listen,
you're trying to focus on.
If you think it's good.
So what? I know.
Do you think it's good?
I noticed you didn't mention again this week. Oh, Dominic, they had MAGA hats. That's organized. What about the construction workers?
No, this guy didn't have.
Everywhere Trump is going, he's getting the crowds.
Where is it? How come there's no one outside? I heard Eric Trump say everywhere they're protesting outside because it's so unfair. No, there's no one out there. No one believes that unfair.
Mr. Weiner. Oh, okay. I want you to answer my question.
I'm ready for it.
If this trial was in Staten Island, do you think Trump supporters would be out there each and every day?
No.
Oh, come on,
I don't think people stand up for people who pay off porn stars to keep secrets from their wives who were pregnant at the time.
First of all, Mr.
They do that.
We both know.
By the way, did you see him?
We both know that type of thing.
Did you see him
with major business leaders? It happens every day.
Can I ask you something?
You know it, and I know it.
Did you see him stand outside the trial last week and wish his wife a happy birthday rather than take her out to dinner? That was gross. She's your wife. You're a billionaire. Take her out to dinner. Don't stand out in front of a trial when you're accused of paying off a porn star and say, I want to send happy birthday greetings to my wife. By the way, how come she's not at the trial?
So Mr. Weiner, How is he supposed to take his wife out to dinner? How is he supposed to do that when if he doesn't show up to court?
You get done at 5 o'clock.
The judge.
New York has some of the best.
The judge just saw the light and said, "Okay, you can go to your child's graduation," and then turned around and threatened him with jail.
Every single person.
New York City judge that's probably not worth his salt.
By the way, that's right.
President of the United States of America.
Since we met
with
last,
jail.
your guy became guilty of criminal contempt. Terrible. Terrible. Another crime he's found guilty of. Criminal contempt. 9 counts. He had to pay $1,000 and take them down. Shame on him for not listening to the judge. Looks like your little guy has his tail between his legs, crawling back to mommy.
Mr. Weiner, you know like I know, no matter what happens with this trial, and we'll see, and I do want your prediction, but no matter what happens with this trial, this thing will be on appeal for years to come. You know it, and I know it. But you've never answered. I've said to you it's going to be a hung jury. Is that a victory for Mr. Trump?
I think it's a victory for Mr. Trump.
Okay. And so
I think
what do you think is going to happen?
If he gets, I want to see more of the case. Up to now. Yeah, I mean,
wait. You want to see?
You want a couple of weeks.
Right. You want to see more of the case.
I do.
Right?
I'm loving it.
So we're a third of the way done, 2 weeks, and there's no beef. Where's the beef?
Well,
where's the beef?
We do know we have had testimony under oath that he paid off a porn star.
So what? He paid off a porn star. So what?
So what? We don't care.
So what? So what is that criminal, paying off a porn star?
Certainly not.
Okay,
it's unseemly, but certainly not criminal.
Okay, Mr. Weiner, you and I both.
We do have witness testimony so far that that happened, and it happened at the behest of the campaign. And we know as a fact that wasn't reported. Okay, and that is a way of influencing. But I want to hear more of the. I want to hear more of the case.
You're focusing on paying off the porn star.
And cover up is the crime.
Okay, all right. Okay. So then if that's such a big issue with Americans, why is it not reflected in polling in a negative way?
Can I propose something? We're going to have an election. There are going to be polls. If you just want to argue about why something's in the polls, instead we can argue about the issues. Let's argue about the issues. Okay. I don't know, poll schmolls.
And I want the record
I'm not arguing the whole.
I want the record to reflect that I'm on record stating that it will be a hung jury. Mr. Weiner did not answer the question.
I want to see more of it.
Right, but based on what you've seen so far.
Oh, I think he's guilty of the crime.
No. Okay, so your prediction is that he will be found guilty. I want your prediction on the trial.
I think it's I think this process is fair. I think I can see someone have
answer the question.
I don't want to do it now. The trial's like
I did.
I know, but you are not as bound to information and knowledge as facts as I am. You're more about bluster. I'm more about facts. And we'll be right back on the Left versus Right. Anthony Weiner, Dominic Carter. We'll see you on the other side of the break. So welcome back to Left versus Right. Anthony Weiner on your left, Dominic Carter on your right. That's literally the way we look on YouTube. Dominic Carter can be heard every weekday night at midnight. A great way to start your day. You just heard me on on the middle. Also, we both have podcasts you can get on anywhere that you get podcasts. So let's change it up a little bit. A lot of the polls that you like to talk about.
Hey, you know what I like about your show the most? Is that you don't shy away from the calls. And I respect that.
Well, I appreciate that. To be honest with you, it would be one hand clapping with the. I mean, I like being the left guy on the station because I give a chance to the callers to snap at me.
You said one hand clapping?
A little bit.
So like the left versus the right.
No, you and I are clapping each other pretty hard.
And by the way, I do note that you concluded the last segment that you get more facts than I do. When I would say on this program, 99% of my predictions have turned out to be accurate.
Well, that's probably right. One of the things, you're a boxing fan, so am I. You know that when you box, when you hear the bell, the clap go off, meaning 10 seconds left in the round, that's when boxers are trained to get their best blows because the judges remember it. Well, our audience is our judge, so when I try to get in as many as I can right before the end. Okay. Well, let's talk about something. You talked about these polls, and we can keep talking about them a little bit, but what we are seeing is that this guy, RFK Jr., is not going away. He's probably not going to win the race, but he's having an impact. He's getting on the ballot more and more places. I happen to believe he's hurting Donald Trump. He's not hurting Joe Biden because if you think about what he's saying.
Newsflash, breaking news.
Yeah.
Anthony Weiner thinks that RFK Jr. is hurting Trump.
Correct. Let me make my case and then you can argue the other way.
Go ahead. How about some Secret Service protection for him?
What is he best
known for? How about that
never happened.
That the Biden administration
third party's never had it before.
Is it not disgusting that they're not giving
third parties never had it before?
Answer my question. Is it not disgusting?
The law says
given the history of his family that the Secret Service
decides?
not Yeah, I know. Come on, I know you're not going to tell me
it's
that the Secret Service makes a decision.
No, it's a bipartisan panel in Congress gets consulted.
Okay.
Because and they came up with that after after RFK was
the
shot.
White House
but hold on.
pressures.
I don't
panel.
think this idea that the White House cares that much about who gets Secret Service protection.
Okay.
I will say this: third-party candidates with 8% in the polls generally don't get it. Ross Perot at 21% didn't get it. So why do you think RFK should get it? Just because why do you care?
But can you focus?
Why do you care?
Can you focus on the history of what's happened in his family
I understand
in terms
that,
of assassination?
but it's a slippery slope.
Do you believe? I just want you to answer the one simple question.
I have no expertise in the subject except to look at the process.
That's your new line. When you know I got you, you say you have
no expertise. The first thing I did when I read about this, and I said, well, have other people, third parties, gotten this?
Right.
And the answer is no. Third parties have not gotten it in the past. And I want to warn you, and I want to say that these guys have to be concerned about precedent. Just because you're a famous person running for president doesn't mean you automatically get Secret Service. It costs us millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Okay, so wait a minute. You said that these guys, meaning I guess the party,
there's a bipartisan congressional
they have to
group
be worried
that
about
meets.
Precedent. That's what you just said.
Yes, all the time.
So precedent would be not waiting 10 days into the Columbia situation.
No, it's a difference of this is who gets
who gets
to do a law enforcement.
It's the same thing. So if you're going to talk about precedent would have been doing something at Columbia like Speaker Johnson did that notice, and you trashed Johnson for going to Columbia. We're going to come back to RFK Jr. and all that. You trashed him, and it was the most leadership that Columbia had seen.
Listen, Hubert Humphrey didn't say anything in 1968. Didn't say anything. And I think that killed him. I think that ultimately Nixon became the law and order guy. You can complain about 10 days. Look, if the Democrats really were in support of this, he wouldn't have said anything at all. So I don't understand. You want to talk about precedent. The precedent is that Joe Biden gets attacked in the left. Remember how he got the nomination. He was the centrist guy. He was criticized for being too tough on crime. He was the 1994 crime bill guy. He was not. We did not choose our most left candidates. They were climbing all over themselves to be leftists. The Democratic Party is fundamentally a centrist party. Can the Republicans say that? Donald Trump
I cannot believe that you just said the Democratic Party of today is a party of the center when the Democratic Party is running away.
Do you forget who Joe Biden defeated? He defeated Warren, Sanders, de Blasio, all these people running to the left. He says, no, I'm a centrist guy. He was criticized by Kamala Harris for his position on segregation, for Christ's sake. So did you.
Right.
Calling him some wacko liberal does not fit this guy. It's not who he is. I believe when he said on Thursday, I believe in law and order, he's telling the truth.
So can you just please answer, waiting 10 days for the President of the United States with an inflammatory situation, was that a good look, or is it wrong to wait that long?
I like 90% of debating you.
Okay.
You and I are friends.
90%.
Yeah.
Okay.
You and I are friends.
What's the 10% you
The 10%
like?
is when you get something you stick in it and you want to ask me the same question 17 times.
Because you're not answering
I've answered it. I've said I don't have a problem with him waiting while they're trying to negotiate a solution. I think that's what presidents do. But once there was an attack, a conflict between cops and students that the whole country's talking about, he said, here's what I think. Now, you can ask me an eighth time, but it sounds a little bit like you're filibustering. You don't want to talk about anything else.
What do you want to talk about? Let's do it.
I said, I think that RFK Jr. takes away from Donald Trump because what is he known for? Anti-vaxxing? He says that Joe Biden's more of a threat to democracy than Donald Trump is. He says that the January 6ers are hostages. He sounds like Trump Jr. He's going to take votes from Donald Trump. And believe me, there's a lot of votes to take because Nikki Haley got 20% or 15% in Pennsylvania just last week.
Here we go.
So tell me, what Democrat?
To keep focusing on Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley was yesterday's story. She's gone.
She got 15% in Pennsylvania.
DeSantis is gone.
DeSantis didn't get 15%.
Is gone. Did you notice, by the way, that DeSantis and Trump met with each other?
I didn't hear DeSantis say anything about that.
Okay.
I only heard Trump.
Okay.
Let's hear DeSantis' side of the story.
Okay. Well, the fact that
Bob Barr came around too. Bill Barr came around too.
Right. Yeah. He did.
You got a lot of principled guys in your party, man.
Hey,
a lot of principled guys.
Hey, Mr. 10-day waiting. I wouldn't talk about principles.
All right, well, you're doing that again.
Right.
I need that bell back where he goes changes the subject.
The President of the United States. Everybody else is speaking
answer
now.
It again?
No, I don't want you to answer it again. The President, because I want to talk about the RFK Jr. situation.
So what Democrat do you think votes for RFK?
First of all,
or what swing voter?
First of all, what you're doing is wishful thinking. Here's the truth.
That's true. I am very hopeful that I'm right.
But you're wrong. I hate to be the one to tell you. Here's the truth. You can line up any situation you want to. Well, if the pet gorilla ran on ticket A, does that hurt Trump? If candidate Z ran on line A,
no, but we have a real thing here.
Finish? Does that hurt Trump? You can come up with any scenario. His base is so passionate.
Whose?
Trump's.
Right, but that's only 30%. You're not going to win with just your base.
Wait.
So you think...
Wait. I just said energize, and you said whose? Biden's base ain't energized. So obviously I'm talking about everybody's going, with all due respect to the president of the United States, everybody's saying, Joe, please retire. We can't do 4 more years.
Everyone is saying to Donald Trump, please spend a little less time in court embarrassing yourself. It doesn't matter. These are the candidates.
Wait.
You've yet to tell me who the RFK voter is.
But wait, listen.
You said something about pet monkeys or gorillas. I don't know what that means.
I'm trying to give you an example of how extreme it is what you just said. You mentioned that Trump didn't take his wife to dinner. First of all, we don't know what the man has done privately. We don't know. Don't look at me like that. We don't know.
I think we do know.
Second of all.
Unfortunately, we know too much about what he did privately.
Second of all, he's on trial because of your Democratic buddies stuck in New York.
My buddy?
And then you're going to criticize
I would know Greg
him.
if he walked into the studio. I wouldn't know who he is.
Well, I know him quite well. And then you're going to criticize him because he didn't take his wife to dinner. How do you know?
No.
How do you know? Wait a minute. How do you know they don't have an arrangement that this weekend, honey?
Oh, they have an arrangement, all right.
Wait.
You walked into that one. Oh, they definitely have an arrangement.
Wait. How do you know they don't have an arrangement? Honey, this weekend we'll celebrate your birthday.
That's fine. Just don't stand in front of a trial when you're out there.
But why is he standing in front of a trial?
He should just shut up and go and call his wife. Don't stand up in front of her.
How do you know he didn't call his wife?
Maybe he did, but I'm just saying the guy's got no coup. He's so uncouth. He's so classless. He's like standing up in front. He's literally standing in front of where you're on trial for paying off a porn star, wishing your wife.
What?
And he said I can't be with her because of the trial, which is obviously not true.
Mr. Weiner.
Why couldn't he be with her?
Mr. Weiner.
He's got a plane, for Christ's sake.
Mr. Weiner. So what? He paid off a porn star. So what?
Just don't talk about your wife in the
Mr.
same
Weiner,
context.
Presidential candidates, the candidates. Yeah. I'm only talking about the candidates. Are they all perfect?
No,
or
they're not.
we just know what their campaigns let out.
People have private lives that are not things they like to talk about. People know more about my private life than I ever want to know.
Right, but
all of that being said,
Mr. Weiner,
I don't know. You don't have to say anything. You always feel the need to respond when I say that.
Because
I'm allowed to. I'm allowed to.
Because with all due respect,
I know
my brother,
you always start that way.
I'm not interested in your private life.
I say, but I'm allowed to mention it.
You're allowed to say anything you want.
I'm allowed to.
But you're not running for president of the
United
States.
Say this. I will say this.
And Trump.
I will say
Trump
this.
and RFK Jr. First of all,
finally.
I believe if you asked RFK, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
He has already answered the question of who's more of a threat to the White House when he said Biden, RFK
I know, that's
Jr.
what I'm saying. I'm asking where his votes are. He's getting like 8%.
And but listen.
Where did his votes come from? He hurts Trump, I think. Because those are Trump voters. They agree with Trump.
No. What I'm trying to explain to you is you can fix the puzzle any way you want to.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt Trump. No matter.
If his votes are coming.
Wait, you know why?
So you're saying 100% of those 8% are coming from Biden?
No.
Just explain why you think that is.
What I'm saying to you is that no matter what you folks on the left do, no matter what you throw at Trump, no matter what it is, he only gets better. That's the part that you don't understand.
I'm going to ask you a math question here, Dominic.
No, you're trying to ask me a setup question that favors Democrats.
Fine. I'm going to call it a math question.
Okay.
If a candidate is getting 8%,
right,
it's only can be coming from 3 places. People who are not going to vote for anybody, people who are going to vote for Trump, or people who are going to vote for Biden. Now, I think there are people...
Or from independents.
People who are not going to vote for any, who aren't going to vote for the other two at all. They're staying home otherwise.
Okay.
Maybe there are some people in there. I can't believe there's no one in the in the RFK camp who's not going to, who would not be coming from one of the other 2 candidates. You yourself said that everyone's dissatisfied with Joe Biden. I'm just asking you to make the case. Who does RFK hurt? You can say nobody. I don't think that's right.
He hurts Biden. I answered it.
Tell me why. Time. Tell me the single swing voter who thinks that someone who's anti-vax, pro-MAGA,
you know why?
That sounds like Donald Trump to me.
Because with all due respect to the President of the United States of America, he has done such a bad job. Anybody in this race their support is going to come from Biden.
Okay, that
because people, it may not make sense to you because that's not what you want to hear.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is, you better get used to it. Wait. Can you say President Trump? Can
that's
you say
a statement without evidence.
Can
we call that a statement without evidence.
That's what you do. That's what you do every week.
I brought examples of why I thought I even counted on my fingers, as people on YouTube can see.
Can you say President Trump?
Yeah, we said President Trump. President Trump had the greatest job loss of any president in history.
No.
President Trump, who cost 1 million lives unnecessarily under COVID. President Trump, who's the most indicted president ever. President Trump, the man who's guilty of fraud. Yep, I can say it. See, told you.
Can you say President Trump may return to the White House? Can you say that?
Yes, I can say the president who lost the most jobs of any president in history.
I didn't ask for your additions.
Hey, if you're going to ask for me to say President Trump, you can't. You don't get to edit the end of the sentence.
Okay,
let's do one quick thing before we leave.
Go ahead.
I got one thing very wrong. Now you can say one, or more like 100.
One every week.
I did a podcast.
You get 9 out of 10 issues.
I did a podcast after the New Hampshire primary when it became clear that Donald Trump.
Notice I never pulled the tapes because I like you. I could pull the tapes of every single segment.
You're a mensch. You're a mensch. So I did a podcast where I predicted who Donald Trump was going to pick back in March. It was after January, after the New Hampshire primary. And I said, after going through the different candidates' pros and cons, I predicted Kristi Noem. I'm probably the dumbest predictor now that I know.
Well, I'm very good at predictions.
Well, hold on a second. So Kristi Noem, and I can't imagine any of our listeners have not heard this story by now. Kristi Noem, former governor of South Dakota, comes out with a book where she brags about the idea that she did the one thing that unifies Democrats and Republicans against her. She shot a 10-month-old dog just basically because she misbehaved. Now, so she's dead as a doornail. Who do you think Donald Trump picks, and who do you think Joe Biden sticks with Kamala Harris, vice presidential?
He's got no choice but to stick with Kamala Harris. All right,
so let's go with Trump then. What do you like?
Has she been a good vice president?
I think that she's been part of a very successful administration.
Hey, listen.
Should I go through all the things they passed and how good the economy's been?
You know I like you, right?
I do know that.
You know I'm going to have to drug test you,
You're making me uncomfortable.
You just said that Kamala Harris has been
part of a very
successful administration.
If I believe the Biden administration has been successful, why shouldn't I give her credit? She's second in charge.
How about the border that she was supposed to be in charge?
Hasn't been a huge success. Thanks to the Republicans. I don't blame her.
Elizabeth.
I don't blame
I'm
her.
coming to join you. Anthony Weiner has just admitted.
You guys stopped a comprehensive deal to improve enforcement. I don't blame her.
She's a joke.
All right, fine.
Is she a joke?
She's not a joke. She's part of a very successful administration.
Is she an embarrassment to African Americans?
Let me ask. Well, you're probably a better person to ask.
You already know the answer if I asked it. You already know.
Dominic, when you ask me to be the spokesperson for the African American community,
but you do it quite well.
You don't have to be on YouTube to know that that's awkward. All right, let me ask you about your guy, though. Who do you think he picks? You're great. We only have a minute.
I don't know. Perhaps the senator of South Carolina. I think that he's good. He's
a Tim Scott. Tim Scott's a stiff,
right? But I think Trump may make history. I think Trump may pick a person of color. I think he's going to do something drastic that's going to completely put the nails.
That's why I thought he would pick a woman. I don't think he picks Tim Scott because, well, unless you believe these numbers are right, Tim Scott's never gotten a lot of black votes in South Carolina, so I don't know why he'd get black votes nationally.
Well, that's
But as a symbolic thing, if you want a toady who's not too smart, he's your man.
But Trump is the type of guy that he doesn't like to be predictable. So he may pick somebody.
He's not going to do a Pence-like again, right? He's not going to do that again because you don't want someone who's going to follow the Constitution when you're Donald Trump, right?
We're out of time.
Oh, too bad.
And I love you, man. But,
I love you too, brother.
I'm gonna start pulling the tapes of issue to
Please
issue.
Don't. Please don't. So it's great to have you along on Left versus Right. Stay tuned for Vinny Medugno, and if you missed any part of this, you can get it as a podcast or on YouTube. Dominic, see you next week.
See you next week.
All right.